Okay, well, I'm a massive Pokemon fanboy, playing Red and Blue and watching the Pokemon TV series till my fingers hurt. And in the 90s, I also was a avid Pokemon card collector who stupidly traded his entire collection for some stupid other Pokemon card game I was convinced would become massively popular one day. But those Pokemon cards still give me wonderful nostalgia because I love my Pokemans. And there's a plethora of games I've enjoyed along the way, too. I thoroughly liked Pokemon Sword, even though it was a beautiful yet very restrictive experience. And who could forget 2016 when World War Pokemon broke out across the world, where people actually left their houses and played video games for once? Pokemon Go is a fantastic, innovative experience, but to me, one of the greatest Pokemon games wasn't really even an official one at all. It was a VR game called Pokemon Quest that was at one point online before Nintendo shuttered it. I believe you can still get Pokemon Quest VR online somewhere, and it's incredible, but it's a very hollow experience. As incredible as it is to immerse yourself in the Pokemon world, to me there's really one game that gets to the very top of the leaderboards in terms of what is quintessentially the best Pokemon game. Now, we're never going to get a full PC release that with new nice graphics and, open world massively where you can just do anything in a big MMO setting, collect any Pokemon you want. Obviously, there was the experience so phenomenon that was Pal World. But you know what? Nothing feels as good as the true, authentic Pokemon world. So when I found out they were coming out with the Pokemon game of my dreams, I could not wait to check it out. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was released to the world, and at the time I didn't play it, but it got very lukewarm reception where I was kind of like, should I get it? And I'm glad I got Scarlet, and I beat it just recently. I played through all the things. I beat the Elite Four. I did the fucking thing where you go to the crater, and then went out and beat all the other gym leaders again. It was a great experience, and I can't wait to talk about it. So yeah, obviously this game would probably benefit from the Switch too, and that's one of my complaints as well as many other people. It's a game that feels like it's in between the absolute greatness of perfection it could be and somewhere kind of along mid-tier. But I mean, there really isn't anything else out there that compares to it. It's a vibrant, gigantic open world, you know, you can fly around. The verticality is fantastic. The battle systems are incredible. The environmental storytelling is just spot on. It feels like you're right smack dab in a Pokemon world. But you know what? There are always going to be some things to complain about. And at this point in day, we don't have a perfect open world, go wherever you want, be the Pokemon trainer of your dreams experience. So this is basically all we have. And I'm happy to say that this is actually a really, really, really good experience. It's absolutely a case of don't listen to everything you say on the internet, as people can never be happy and they're going to find a way to complain about anything. And I would highly imagine the Pokemon fan base can never be happy no matter what they give us. So, I mean, that explains some of the fluff and gawk it got when it came out. And like I said, as great as Pal World might be to someone, if it's not that authentic Pokemon experience, it just doesn't feel right for me. And it doesn't matter how good the game is. If it's not true form Nintendo crafted with love, it's just an imitation. So let's get to some of the complaints. As right off the bat, I'd like to address that because I have a few of my own. This game absolutely got shredded, with much of what you'll see online leading you to believe that this is a very bad game, which could not be farther from the truth. And even sites like IGN giving it a 6 as okay would not agree with that review at all. I firmly put it at a 9, and I'll tell you why, but let's get the complaints out of the way here. So yeah, I mean its biggest roadblock is the Switch hardware itself, maybe being remedied in the Switch too, but the anti-aliasing is an issue. It really can chutter at times, and I even came across several times where world geometry would just disappear out of the ether of the lands, and that could be a little bit jarring. But considering that this game actually runs on the Switch and does a pretty admirable job, all things considered, from a technical standpoint. I think they got a lot more flack than it deserves for this, but it is a very notable downside to the game, for sure. Another issue for us older school Pokemon enjoyers is that you are portrayed mostly as a kid in this game. I mean, it gets a little better when you're able to customize your appearance later on with different, clothing sets. But I only ever ended up looking like a younger adolescent, and well, I mean that's a side effect of kind of the design of the game. You're, kind of a kid in school. And I mean, it was charming, I'll give it that, but it would have been nice to make yourself look like more like yourself because there was a robust character editor. Another main complaint for many is the fact that it's not voice acted. We've come to really depend or even expect games nowadays to have fully voice acted sequences. You can hear the person talk. It led the experience down a little bit, in my opinion. But considering this game goes on and on and on, it really would have had a crap ton more of dialogue and file space. So perhaps that was the technical reason for it, but still kind of a downside in my opinion as well. But besides that, those are my really only three main complaints. I mean, it's just a fantastic game, and maybe in the future we'll have something better. I think they announced a new one where you're kind of like in a city, and it might be multiplayer for the Switch too. But at the same time, there's nothing out there that competes to it. The type of Pokemon game I'd like, for example. Now, there's perfectly fine to have your traditional Pokemon experiences, to have it so that you can just kind of have that more tight, concealed experience. But I've always, since I was a young lad, wanted to have an open world type Pokemon experience like this, and it really delivers on all fronts in that matter. There's like this weird thing with food where there's so much different food vendors around the world. Like I said, you can customize your character. The Pokemon themselves look fantastic, and it's neat to see them just kind of existing in the world. And it's huge benefit to it is the fact that the battle system is just awesome. I just love the fact that you can, zoom around your Pokemon, you can see them in action, you can see other Pokemon in the distance as you're fighting. It really gives you this idea of this kind of just natural Pokemon world where they just live in this wild type environment. It's stellar. Another major strength I didn't think I would like at first, but you get to ride along on different Pokemon. Now, obviously, it's going to be different type of Pokemon in Violet to Scarlet. I played the Scarlet, and I had a blast just rushing around the land, flying, climbing, doing all kinds of things on a Pokemon. And you know what would be absolutely awesome for future entries is if you could do that on any Pokemon. You could ride through the ocean on a Gyarados. You could, fly through the skies on a Charizard. It lends credence to the fact that you can kind of have these Pokemon and use them in a beneficial way, not only for fighting, but traversing the world as well. It's quite cool. I wasn't an overall fan of this like gang mechanic where you go to this gang hideout and take on these leaders who are always driving this big rig thing. But there's a lot to do in this game, and I was surprised at the amount of content there was here. I clocked in at a 40-hour experience as a seasoned gamer, and I probably still had a bunch to do before I was kind of done with it. That's not bad for a Pokemon game, and I was really striving at the end to try and finish it because it was just such a robust experience. You'll find yourself just wandering through lands or being outright daunted by the fact that there is just this huge world that you have to conquer. And I would imagine that plenty of quote unquote casuals kind of got thrown off by the fact that this isn't a quick 10-hour experience that could slip in, finish everything, and call it a day. It truly is a commitment, and that's a lot to say for a Pokemon game. We exist in a world where people can never be happy, no matter what they get. And this is just proof of that tragedy is that a good, really good Pokemon game came out, critics hated on it for some reason, and people found a lukewarm experience for their own individual, opinions. But for me, this is the Pokemon game of my dreams, and I freaking love having it as a part of my collection. I'll probably return to it whenever I'm having that Pokemon itch again. It just looks cool. It feels like the world. The buildings and interiors are beautiful. It's a very authentic experience, and things like these winter villages that are all cozy, and the interesting little things you can check out in each town, the quirky characters who are all friendly even when they're supposed to be enemies. It's just a charming experience through and through. It was pretty cool too that they shaped the game around kind of a Pokemon university. It brings you back to games like Bully, and it centers around like this college campus of Pokemon, and it's an interesting look at the Pokemon world, that's for sure. So if you really didn't like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, there's really nothing I can tell you to, come back to it or like it the way I did. But for me, there's just not really a Pokemon game out there that really does what this game does, and it does it really well, in my opinion. So I mean, yeah, it's like if you're on the fence about this game, get it. I had the exact same feeling you did, and I got Sword, which was good, but this is much better in my opinion. And our roster of Pokemon games is only so much, as Pokemon is one of the most protected and profitable IPs on the planet. Yeah, that's my review. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I give it a 9 out of 10 as a Pokemon game. Now, as another game, as good as this game is, what it could have been is much better. I have had dreams for many, many, many years of a game for PC. It's open world. You can play with all your friends, maybe in an MMO environment, big, lush open worlds, high fidelity graphics, customize, be whoever you want, all the Pokemon who've ever existed. Give us that game. And yeah, it's sad but true that we'll probably never ever get that game just because I don't know if they're restricted by the Nintendo license. I don't know if they're not willing to release this game for other consoles. But here's our fingers crossed that the Switch 2 is powerful enough to power such a game and to make that kind of dream possible for me. But for now, as far as Pocket Monsters games, this is as good as it really gets, in my opinion, which is actually not bad. It is quite a good attempt at an open world Pokemon game, and it's totally worth it to play. It's the truly the look of a game that's so close to being perfection, but it's just off by that little bit, part in ways limited by the Switch's hardware and by the fact that, Pokemon games are only going to be as good as they can be. And I don't think Nintendo or Game Freak are going to jump on the fact of making my idea of something a little bit more graphically feasible. But they made a damn good attempt here. It's that apathy that set in that leads gaming sites to give it an okay score. And it's like, it's one of those things where I got to go against the grain here and say that this is actually a fantastic experience. Don't hope for any better than this, because they are not going to make it. You're not going to get the Pokemon game of your dreams. So when you compare it to that fact, it's pretty darn good. And how absolutely funny is it that they have these phones that pop up and hoover in front of your face? I almost actually would prefer holding my phone because it would be so weird to have your phone just fly up in front of you like they does in this game. It's hilarious. So yeah, Pokemon Scarlet, Violet, great games. Highly recommend it. Don't listen to the fluff online. Pokemon fans, like most fandoms, can never be happy. And just enjoy the fact that we have such a good Pokemon game out there. So catch 'em all, be the very best, like no one ever was.